The next route we want to create is to add a book with book details. So we'll just come down here. Now we are going to use the same endpoint, which is slash books, but the query, the request method will be a post. And that's because we are sending something to the database. We want to create, and I mean, we're sending something to the server. We want to create something on the server. And yes, this is the server. So it's the client that will be calling, or the front end that will be calling this route that we are creating. And we're saying that we want to get some information alongside this request, and we are getting that information from the request body: the title of the book, the author, the price, quantity. This is going to match with what we have here: title, author, price, quantity, and published date. The next we want to do is this is like a form of validation that happens a lot, both on the front end and on the back end, which is the server. So we want to check that all the information we need to create a book is available. So we are checking, is the title, if the title is not there, or if the author is not there. Basically, if any of these things are missing, we want to send an error message that says invalid request. Add a book with title, author, price, quantity, and published date, with a status code of 400, which means badge request. Otherwise, we can go ahead and get our books. So we say get books, and so since we are creating a new book, we want to increment the ID of the books. And what we had, the last ID we had was 50, but we don't just want to assume it's 50 all the time. So we are going to fetch this information from the list of books that we have. So what we are saying here is that we want to get the last book on our list, and we want to get the ID of that book. So if for some reason there is no book in our database, then we want to start with an ID of 1. Okay, so we are saying get the old ID, the oldest ID, or sorry, get the newest ID, or start with a fresh ID. And for us to do that, we're just going to say, okay, let's start with 0, because we are going to add 1 to it, so that our first book will be having an ID of 1. Okay, and then we create the book, give it the ID and every other information that we have. Then we say books.push to add it to the books array that we have. Then we are going to be writing to the file. And writing to this file means that we are going to rewrite the file entirely. So the first thing is to convert the data to JSON objects, which is what we are going to receive in there. So we are going to say books to be books, and rather than repeating that, we'll just leave it this way. Now, assuming we have other things in our database, then what we had initially for the function we wrote up here should have just been left the way it was. So we'll just have the data, and whenever we want to rewrite the file, we just add the books to the data and then add it back to the file. And here we get to use the write file method from fs, Nodejs. Remember, we imported it up here. So we go back and then we write it and await for it to be completed. And once we are done with that, we return a successful message. Now, what if in this whole process there was a bug or error or something somewhere? It's important to wrap your code in a try-catch block to catch the errors at some point. That's like a way to handle errors. So we're going to remove all this, create a try-catch block, and then paste this back into the try. So we're saying we want to try what we have here, and if it does not work, if there's an error along the line, we want to catch the error and then we want to do whatever we need to do with the error. We can say console.log, print the error to the terminal. The error object too has message, so you can say error.message. Since this is an error from the server we are going to be returning 500 status code. So say res dot status 500, and we say dot send whatever, maybe something went wrong, and that is it. So we'll restart our server again, go back to the browser. Now we want to create a new, I'm going to save this, create a new request. What's the request we just created now? We are adding a new book here. So we come here and say add book. And now we are making a post request. So we're going to change this to post. And we have our host name / books. And we are going to create the body of our request. So we come here and select body. These params here, select body. And we are going to select the JSON format because that's how we want to send it to our server. So we'll say raw and then we'll say JSON. So now we want to create a JSON object with the name, title, title, author, basically everything we have here. Okay, good. Well, let's just see what that error is going to throw if we do not send all the required information that we need to send. So we're just going to run this. Cannot post / book / text. Oh, okay. Something went wrong. What could have gone wrong? Let's see. So the error message says cannot the structure property title of request body as it is undefined. So our request body is undefined. So you actually see why it's good to use a try catch block for your code. Okay, so this error message is coming from line 57, and that was because we are able to catch our errors. Without this try catch block, then we probably wouldn't have even known what went wrong in our code. Maybe you should try it without the try catch block and see what happens. Okay, now let's see what's the problem. Okay, so we are sending a JSON data and we need to actually allow Express to understand, like we need to make Express understand that we are sending JSON data. So we have to come up here and ask our Express app to use JSON. So I'm going to remove line 5 up. Yeah, so on line 6 we're going to say app.use, and we want it to use express.json so that it knows that we're going to be expecting JSON data. Yeah, I think that should fix it. So come back here, start our server, and then we go back and send. Now it says invalid request, add a book. Now this is the message we want to see. This is the error we want to see when we are sending invalid data. So we'll come back here and add the other fields. Yeah, so this should do the magic. Try again. Yeah, so we have a new book now with ID of 51. When we go back to our database, data.json, this has been formatted, so we'll just do Ctrl S to format it. And now we have a new book with ID 51, blah blah blah, everything 19. This should be 1965. Okay. Yeah, so we'll go back to creating other routes, and we need to do a delete, we need to do an edit, which is, you can do an edit with either put or patch. So we're just going to make a put. There's a difference between the put and the patch. What the put does is to basically replace, like it does a replacement, but patch does an editing. Okay, at this point it won't really matter because I mean we're actually replacing our whole data in our data.json. But when you're building real world application, it's important to like you do exactly what, specify exactly what your route is going to do. At some point, it doesn't even matter, because if you do a get here and you don't have any other gets that will clash with it, you can actually succeed in doing the same operation with a get request. But now you know that we already have a get request with this same endpoint, and we don't want to cause a confusion. So it's better we specify, like, let the request method specify exactly what you want it to do. If you are getting data, use a get. If you are adding data, use a post. If you are editing data, use a put or a patch. If you are deleting data, use a delete method. Okay, so now we want to do edit, so we are going to do a put. We'll be making use of the same route endpoint that we had earlier. For this was to get a particular book by ID. Now we are going to say put because we want to update a particular book by its ID. Again, this is an important reason why you have to specify the method, the request method. If we had not changed this to put, then it's going to overwrite what we had earlier for our get a book by ID. So we have to specify this put, and that's what is going to make it different. Now we are saying we want to get the update from the request body, and the request body will give us the book ID, which we are going to convert to an integer here. Then we get a list, then we get our list of books, and we find that particular book with the ID. And now we are finding the book by its index. Find by index will return the index of the book, or a -1 if the book is not found, or if the item is not found in the array. So now we are saying if the item index is less than 0, we want to send a status code of 404 item not found. And we're using a return here because we want to exit this function. If we do not use a return here, this response will be sent and the function will keep running. Okay, that's not what we want, so we are going to just make a return here and end the whole process. But if that's not the case, if we have the book in our database, then we want to get the book itself this time around, get the book by its index, and now we want to update what we have in the book array at the exact position where the book we are updating is. So we are going to say keep whatever information we already have about that book, add the update. So let's say we are just updating the title. We're going to keep everything we had before, including the title. Then we are going to add the update, which has the title, and this will override the title we had before. Then we're also going to keep the ID, because just in case somebody added a new ID to the request of body, we do not want to override the ID we had before. So we are going to maintain the ID by coming back here and saying ID equal to requested item.id, and requested item, remember, is from the database and not from the request body. So this will update whatever information we have about the book, and we convert it to JSON before we save it to our database using line 76, and then we send the book back to the user with the new and updated information about the book. So let's try this on our server. Yeah, so we push request. So we're going to create a new request, save this, come here, new request, and we want to say edit book by ID. Type that out completely. Then we say a put request, and this is so sweet. Host name / books. We don't need to type out localhost 3000 or 4000 or whatever. And which book do you want to edit? Now let's edit the book we just created. Here, add a book. The ID is 51. So yeah, we're editing book 51. And what we want to edit, let's see, from add a book, we just want to edit the quantity, just in case we sold one of it and the quantity is reducing from 6 to 5, or maybe we even got new stock, so we want to increase it from 6 to 10. So we'll go back to edit book, and we come here We want to edit the body of the request, and we want to send a JSON object, and come here and just remove anything we are not editing. So we say quantity is 10 because we got new stock, and we send this request. We get back our book. Quantity is now 10. Oh, let's also update the publish date since we made a mistake on that earlier. So just copy this, paste it here, 1965, and send. 1965, quantity is now 10. If we go back to the database, format this with a Ctrl S or Command S. Then we go down to book with an ID of 51. We see now the published date is 1965, quantity is now 10. Good. Our bookshop is making progress. Let's always remember to wrap this in a try-catch block just in case there's an error somewhere along the line, so we'll be able to account for it or handle it properly. Now we are having a delete, and we're also going to have a try-catch block, and just going to paste the code here. I'm going to copy the error handling we had for the previous request and paste it here as well. Now let's see, for deleting the book, we are going to repeat like similar things we had before just to get the ID from the query parameter. So we'll do this, get the book ID, get the list of books, find the book by its index. If the index is not there, we return 404, item not found. If the index is there, then we want to, if the book is there, then we want to splice it. Splicing means removing the book from what we have from our list. So this is a JavaScript array method. So we say the books array does splice the item index, and we just want to remove one item. Okay, then when we are done with that, we also, and after that, we save the books array back into the database, and we return a message that says item with ID, the ID is successfully deleted. And if there's any error along the line, we want to print the error on our console, and we want to return something went wrong to the client. So let's run this again. We start our server, come back here. Now let's delete book with, which book do we delete now? I actually like all the books here. So let's say book item 48. So create a new request, same way we did before. Add request, and we say delete book by ID. Please say delete, and we still use our host name /books /book number 38. And that is it. We don't need to send anything in the request body. So we just say send, says item with ID 38 deleted successfully. Let's go back to our database and see book number 38. 38 is no longer there. Thank you so much for staying with me. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know what you think about this tutorial. Let me know if I should do more backend tutorials or more front-end tutorials. Thank you so much, and see you next time.